So it's been a while, and the question's been asked, what is wrong with the Duke? I got a lot of replies, everything from bad gas, but we put brand new gas into it, pretty much filled it up. Same gas ran in my car and my snowplow, so I don't think that's the issue. I'm going to pull a little bit of gas out and double check. To coil packs, but we have pretty good spark, so I don't think that's the issue. Two, there's a little module that's behind the coil packs that is pretty much as expensive as what I paid for the entire car. So that pretty much rolls it out. Spark plugs, which we kind of tried but made it worse. And the last one was crank sensor. Now this sensor on Rock Auto was $11. I think I got that staple for free. So, yay! So to get this, we have to pull the coil packs, the little computer behind the coil packs, and this goes into there. So for this $11 sensor, that's the thing that we're going to be trying to see if it makes this thing work. If it does not work and it does not run after that, we will be taking the doubles off, returning them to the gentleman that we borrowed them from, hacking the front bumper off, taking the gas tank and the battery out, and pretty much just storing this thing till spring, because I need my shop back. The rules where this thing is going to be ran at are going to change, so there is no longer allowed chrome bumpers as of the spring of 2020. So that means the winter shows of 2020 they're allowing the chrome bumpers, but the spring shows they are not. So that means this car has to be ran before spring, or else it's scrapped to me. So yeah, we're going to quickly try out some stuff here. I'm going to try to pull it back maybe so I can get underneath it. It's going to be a little bit of a hard time getting in there to do that. People on the internet have told me that it is a horrible job to do. So we'll be jacking it up and putting it up on some jack stands and trying to do it underneath, because I already got a car on the hoist and it's just going to be too much. If I have to move this car outside, bring this one down, move the Camry outside, push the Oldsmobile back in, it's too much moving for myself. So yeah, we're going to try to put that sensor in today and see how she goes, pretty much. First thing I'm going to do is try to fire this thing back up, but I got to put some things back on before I do that, like the valve cover, that kind of stuff. So we're going to do that. We're going to try to fire it up to see if she's running any better. Maybe sitting inside for 2 weeks would have done something. I doubt it, but maybe. And then we're going to just try to move it back a bit so I can get underneath it. Guys on the internet told me this wasn't going to be a nice job, and it's kind of nice that people don't lie to me. I got this part out, and let's explain this. I'm going to bring over... Actually, you know what? Let's do it from here. This is the coil pack out of a Cavalier SFI 95 to 99, and I have this laying around because I used to run Cavaliers a lot. This is the coil pack out of my Oldsmobile Cialis or Buick, whatever the heck you want to call it. See a difference? Yeah, me too. The crank sensor on the Cavalier is actually on the flywheel. On this one, it goes in the old hole where the distributor used to be, and it goes into a little computer that goes into the coil packs. So I bought a new one of these, but I want to show you these coil packs. See how cracked they are? They're not very nice looking. So when I was looking at this, there is differences in the plugs. This one has one less wire than this one, so I imagine that is the crank sensor that goes into this one, and this one doesn't. So they plug in fine, it doesn't give any spark when you're doing that. So what we're going to do right now is, I believe that's a 6 mil? Smaller than 6. Oh, please be a 5, not a 5.5. I think it's a 5.5. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a 7/32 socket, and we're going to pull out the crank sensor. I don't want to break any of these bolts because this unit on Rock Auto is more than I paid for this car. So I definitely don't want to break it. Just want to see if there's any corrosion in there. And I'm actually going to take the coil packs off of the SFI and see if they bolt onto this, because these coil packs are pretty much garbage. Maybe I'll go get the right spark plugs instead of Toyota Camry spark plugs in this thing. I don't want to lose this hardware. You know, if I was like a smart derby driver, I would have never bought this Buick. Because I don't have any parts for it. Everything I buy for it costs me money. And realistically, this car is not going to stand up to a Camry. You know, it's got grease in there. It's got good connections. Like, nothing seems to be heavily corroded in there. It does have a little bend in it, but I did have to force this thing pretty hard to get it out. And, yeah. So after quite a bit of messing around, I was able to get the coil pack switched over. Every bolt broke, taking them out of the old Buick one. So I was able to... Actually, the ones out of the Cavalier didn't fit because they were drilled and tapped into the base. This one was not. This one's through bolts with a funny hex square head. Anyway, it's a stupid design. So I used 10 mils off of a Toyota Camry that I had laying around, and the other side I couldn't fit 10 mils through, and I couldn't drill because it looked like there was like a computer chip there. So trusty old zip ties. I understand zip ties will break when it gets hot, but the car's not running right now, so it needs to run. So I'd rather have it run. I've been putting dielectric grease in it everywhere to ensure that every connection goes together very nicely. We got the new crank sensor on there. Now we're going to start the 45-50 minute ordeal of getting this thing back in. I dropped all the hardware like a good mechanic does, so I'm going to have to find all that on the ground. And then we're going to jam them into the holes and reinstall this, and then I'll plug in the 2 electrical plugs, plug all my spark plugs back in, and we'll see if this thing runs. I'm kind of, if this doesn't work, car's garbage to me, I think. Like I said, I could have bought all new of everything here, but it was more than what I paid for the car, and I'm not willing to do that. But I did get these old cracked ones out. The backs of them. Let's see if you guys can see these. Can you see those cracks? So the old coil packs were pretty bad. This one's cracked all the way across and everything. Both of them are pretty much garbage. So we're going to be installing this now. As far as I can tell, it will not go in from the top. I've tried and tried and tried and tried. Hits the steering rack. So I got to feed it up through the bottom and then come up to the top and just wiggle it in. People tell me that you have to do this from the bottom, so I believe them. So I'm going to go underneath and install this now. Well, that was a horrible job. We have the old coil packs all cracked. That one's not the bad one. See how cracked it is? The water got in there and froze, I guess. There, that's a bad one. Just got to get the light out from behind here. Got it like really jammed down in there so I could see what I was doing. That is not an easy job. Like, they could have made that so much nicer. But anyway, I guess let's try to see if this thing will start up. Fuel on. Key on, start. Well, if you can't tell by my eyes, they're on fire. It's because the amount of pollution inside here. Still not running right. My eyes are legitimately burning out of my skull. I'm going to go up to the house and maybe let this kind of go down for a bit here. Still not running right. Maybe new spark plugs tomorrow now. But I need to get out of the shop for a bit. So, I had it run in there, and it runs much better than what it did before, but still not that good. Now, if you remember, Steven and I pulled the spark plugs that were in this thing from day one. And this is what they look like. They didn't look that bad, but I didn't have any of these here. So, I had Toyota Camry spark plugs, which are much longer. So, I said, you know what? Throw them in there. If we hear a ting, then we'll stop and pull out all the pieces. So that's the difference right there. We were being lazy and cheap. I guess they were a little bit too long. These spark plugs have hit the piston repeatedly. Quite a bit. So I'm going to throw in these spark plugs back in there today. And it's like probably 11:45 at night. So nowhere is open. So I might order these off Rock Auto. Derby's next weekend. No, I will probably not get them by then. So we're going to put in the old spark plugs that are probably 30 some odd years old and see if this thing runs better than the brand new spark plugs that are apparently hitting the pistons, because we're lazy and did not want to go buy 4 new spark plugs. So let's try this out and see if this thing runs any better. So we now have the spark plugs changed. Yeah, I guess those other ones were just a wee bit too long. Some other things I've done, we got rid of the EGR. We built the EGR block-off plate. There was a fuel filter on the injector because this is a throttle body, so there's only one. So I did get rid of that. I also got rid of the power steering lines because I had to, because I couldn't do the coil pack with it. We changed out the coil packs. We have a different ground that I'm probably going to have to make a little bit longer for the coil packs, because where it was very rusty, so we have a different ground. And I'd like to see how this thing runs now. So let's see if this thing runs and drives half decent. Spark plugs in it. This thing has a door there? Spark plugs in it are about 30 years old, but they're not hitting the pistons no more. So I put all this effort into it, and the car's doing the same thing. It runs and idles much better than what it did before, but when you go to put it in gear, so ready? I'm in. I'll go to low. It idles down, try to give it gas. It backfires like crazy. Yeah, the battery charger's off. Battery's not that good. But, so, turns out everything I did was a waste. She's starting to overheat again. Huh. What do I do with this car? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. What do you guys think I should do with it? What do you guys think the issue is? If this was a Camry, I could have had it fixed. I've spent all night working on this, trying to get this thing ready, and it's still a no-go. Basically doing the exact same thing that it was doing before. Tomorrow, I gotta put time into this car because this is my car and it needs to be fixed as well. And I could probably fix this car in an hour, and I've now spent 5 hours on this car. But it's putting out a lot of pollution. Like, my eyes are burning again, so I'm gonna call it a day and get out of the shop. I even have the door open, and it's probably negative 20 outside. So, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards timing, but if it's timing, I'm not gonna do it. This thing's garbage to me. I'll just pull out all my stuff and send her to the yard. Maybe I'll hit it with another car, but I don't know. Guys, leave some comments down below on what you think it is. It is not crank sensor. It is not coil packs. It is not spark plugs. Well, maybe spark plugs, but it's not wires. It may be that little computer underneath the coil packs, but I'm not spending $100 on that, so that's out of the question. But leave a comment down below on what you guys think it is, and I'm not sure. It does not look very well that I will be derbying this Buick. Oldsmobile, whatever you guys want to call it. The Iron Duke might just be taking a big deuce to the scrapyard. So, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.